Compassion, dedication, and a love for animals collide in the rewarding job of a veterinary technician. Today, we're chatting with Tammy Connor, a seasoned vet tech, as she reveals the ups and downs of this heartwarming and challenging job, a must-listen for anyone interested in working with our furry friends. This is Career Chats with Katie and Robin.
Welcome, Tammy. We are so excited to have you on Career Chats today.
Hi, thank you.
To begin, why don't you tell us what you do and what a typical day on the job looks like?
I am a licensed veterinary technician. Also, some people call us animal nurses. I particularly work just with cats and dogs. There are plenty of other animals that you can work with, but I work just with, our normal pets. So a normal day, I work in two practices. I work in a general practice that I've been in for almost 20 years. And I work in an urgent care as well, which is pretty much, you can kind of get what that is. It's for urgent stuff, not just vaccines and that kind of thing. In our general practice, a normal day, you talk to clients, you check in patients. Most days we have surgeries like spays and neuters. We also take growth removals off. So that would be anesthesia, sedation. We clean animals' teeth. So we're also dental hygienists. We also give vaccines, clean ears, trim nails, take x-rays. We do a lot. Our job is, in the human world, you would only focus on one of those items, but in our world, we do all of those things.
Wow, yeah.
So how did you find yourself in this work? Is it something you always planned on doing, or did you stumble upon it accidentally?
I definitely never planned on this.
Ooh.
I graduated from George Mason University with a degree in communication, and I wanted to work in like a news station or at a radio station. And I found this job because my parents had just moved. And so I found a job as a receptionist in a veterinary hospital, thinking, great, this will be a great job until I get a real job. And I really liked working there. So I transitioned from being in reception to being a veterinary assistant, which they do a lot of similar things that we do as a technician, but they're not licensed. In a lot of places, I should say there's a lot of different roles at different hospitals, but in most places, they're not allowed to do the things that we do, like placing IV catheters, running anesthesia, those sorts of things. So I moved into that position, and then I decided, well, I still really like what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and go to school to be an LVT. And that's what happened. My kids are 12, so I think I went to school like 15 or 16 years ago.
Nice.
So tell us a little bit more about that. What is required? Is it a degree, a certification? What type of training do you need?
I can only speak on where I went, but I know there's a lot of online programs, which is great. It is an associate's degree. So you have of course, your general courses. My program was 2 years of actual veterinary technician courses, which, includes anatomy and physiology, of course, learning how to run anesthesia, learning about diseases, learning about the drugs that the doctors dispense. We also have to learn about large animals, even if you're not going to practice with them. It's just part of our study. It's a 2 to 3 year program, depending on what kind of prerequisites you already have.
And does that include like hands-on kind of clinicals, if you will?
Yeah. So I went in person to Northern Virginia Community College. Once you get past I want to say your first or second semester, we do have animals that come in that we do surgeries on. We're usually spaying and neutering for rescues or the Humane Society, that kind of thing. So that's how we learn. And then usually they also will set up field trips for us to go visit farms and see cows and horses and large animals. If that's not most of us going to school, that's not where our career takes us.
Mm-hmm.
So they do want to give us exposure to that kind of thing, because it is something that we do have to learn about, and we have to take a state and national test that we do have questions about large animals on.
What all animals are considered large animals?
So that's a great question. I would say probably mostly livestock so cows, horses, and then other livestock. pigs and those sorts of things that I have never dealt with. So I would say, but mostly just like farm animals would be what large animal medicine is considered.
So tell us, what is your favorite and least favorite part of the job?
I don't actually do a lot of anesthesia anymore. I personally hate cleaning teeth. We see some rancid mouths in animals. So that's not something that I actually do anymore. One of my favorite things is nursing care. So when we have an animal in the hospital, generally on like IV fluids, generally getting, IV medications, and they're pretty sick. That's one of my favorite parts of the job, is just caretaking for the animals. Some people in my job think that you don't have to like humans to work in veterinary medicine, but you do very much so have to like to talk to people, because these critters are their babies, so I actually don't mind talking to the clients either. So those are my two favorite: nursing care and just like communicating with the people.
I love it.
I feel like when people think about like jobs in the vet space, they think, oh, we get to play with animals all the time. But is that like a reality at all?
I mean, there are days that we have like great days, awesome dogs and cats come in, and you get to like, I don't know. I'm sure you guys have seen like funny videos and TikToks, like especially during COVID with curbside. Like you think we're in the back like torturing your animals, but really we're in the back like dancing with your animals. Like that's so true.
That's amazing.
Or like singing to them, and like, yeah, I mean, we definitely do that. So there are definitely really, really good days that we do get to like play with the animals. And especially when like new puppies come in, we like to try to, get them used to being there and being out a really good experience, because there are a lot of animals that don't care to come to the vet, and they do sometimes make our job very difficult because they are, I won't say untrained, but just difficult to deal with. So there's days where it's really hard. It's a very physical job. Unfortunately, just like with wild feral children, like you can't tell the dog, just sit there, it's going to be okay. So there's days that we get beat up physically, but there are really great days too. And I feel like you always have a great patient to like balance out your bad patients.
Right. You can focus on that.
Yeah.
What kind of personalities do you think would thrive in the day-to-day work environment that you do?
Gosh, we have like the gamut of people. I do think that like I said, I think going into it thinking that you're just going to work with animals all day and don't have to deal with people is not like a good outlook to have, because that's not the case. I mean, I really think anybody can thrive in this situation. I would say if you have like high anxiety, it's probably not for you. Now, I'm a sensitive soul, but sometimes, we do get treated poorly by clients at times. They are sometimes unkind to us. But I think any personality can work with it. I mean, you can be grumpy and still love being with the animals, and you can be happy and love being with the people and your coworkers. So I do think you have to understand what you're getting into. Like I said, when people think that it's just playing with animals, that's not the case.
Right. So what would you tell someone who's thinking about entering the field?
I will tell them that it is not the most lucrative career, which I know is probably not the greatest thing to say, but it's not. You do have to have a love for it. You have to have a little bit of a passion for taking care of the animals, because unfortunately we aren't paid where we should be paid in the compared to the human world.
Right.
But I would say, it's a great job if you don't want like a 9-to-5, if you don't want to sit at a desk, if you want to be active. I've been in the field for 20 years and there's been a lot of growth in that time period. There are plenty of places to make a better salary if you branch out to perhaps emergency, or there is even specialties that veterinary technicians can acquire. It's just, if you're interested in that, it's not something that ever interested me. So I'm happy where I am. But I would say, it's definitely not easy. It's hard work mentally and physically, like every time you go into the clinic, but it's also can be super rewarding. And I will say, like, I have a great group of coworkers, and they sometimes get us into like, you're like, okay, I have my people, I'm going to go be with them today.
I love that.
So do you think there will be more or less opportunities for people to do this work in the future?
I do know that like currently it is hard to hire licensed veterinary technicians. And so there is a lot of opportunity out there right now. There are a lot more hospitals. I don't know. I mean, I can't think of any like thing that's open new. Well, I'm sorry. The one I work at is new in urgent care, but I definitely think there could be a lot of growth. I think that they're finally realizing that they do need to pay us more, and that we it is a growth career for sure.
Okay.
So is this something that you plan on doing forever? I mean, forever, right? For the foreseeable future, or is there a next step for you?
I do feel like I will be in this field because I'm 42 and it's kind of the only job I've ever known other than retail jobs as a kid. I would like to see myself progress into being like a practice manager. So that's kind of where I feel like I'd like to end up for lots of reasons. Like I said, the job is really physical. As we all get older, perhaps we don't want to do that as much anymore. So that's where I'd like to see myself. I'd like to see myself step out of being in the treatment room as much and like perhaps doing a little more like managing of a hospital.
That makes sense. What else would you like our listeners to know about becoming a vet tech? Anything that we haven't covered?
It's an emotional ride. There are days that you go and help with, a euthanasia, and then your next appointment is seeing a puppy. And so it can be a really emotional roller coaster. I will say for the most part that the staff you work with can make a huge difference. If you find a hospital that's good, stick with it if that's what you want to do forever. And it is amazing how much you can learn. Some of the techs that I work with are just brilliant. I mean, they're just like the only reason they're not doctors is because they didn't go to veterinary school. Like they're just so smart and brilliant and creative. I mean, some of the things that we have to figure out, like with bandaging a wound or something is pretty cool. It is a great job. I think there's ups and downs to every job.
For sure.
So just for fun, if you weren't doing this job, what job would you love to do, real or imagined?
Gosh. So one of my goals in life, I want to be the fairy godmother at Disneyland or Disney World when I'm older.
I love it. Oh, that's awesome.
That's amazing.
But I would prefer Disneyland because Disney World's too hot for me.
I agree. Agreed.
I also agree. Amazing. And you do also do some side work with travel planning, right? Speaking of Disney.
I do.
And is that just for fun, or tell us about that just for fun?
So ever since my kids were born, I've never worked full time since then in veterinary medicine. So as you know, Katie, like getting childcare and paying for childcare is really difficult. So we just made the decision that we would basically work on each other's days off. So we never had to do that. So I've always kind of done something extra to make extra money because of the choices that we made as a family. So yes, so the Disney thing is it's fun, but it's also helps us travel. And that's kind of our vacation budget instead of taking it out of our family's budget.
I love that.
Tammy, thank you so much for being here today. This was really great and we really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Career Chats is hosted by Katie Huddleston and Robin Coney. Show notes and guest info can be found on our website, careerchats.show. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love you to subscribe and share this podcast with your friends. Until next time, stay curious.